Alrighty, this is a quick little video for kind of like set of changes for practicing G major modal scales and chords. I'm going to show what those are, and then I'll play the changes with the metronome for you so you can kind of get an idea what's going on. This is presuming that you've looked at my G major modal scales, and there's a tab on the Banjo Hangout that shows how to play them, and presumes that you're kind of acquainted with the idea that a major scale, if you start that scale in each of the 7 notes, that you have 7 different what are called modal shapes or modal scales of that same G major note set. It's really only 7 different notes, but if you start the scale on each note ascending, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G, you get 7 different sounding sets of notes. 1 is a major type scale, 2 is a minor type scale, 3 is a minor type scale different from number 2, 4 is a major type scale different from number 1, 5, which is a D, is a dominant, what's called a dominant chord, or it's a scale that's major in flavor but with a flatted 7. 6 is a minor type scale completely different from 2 or 3. 7 is a minor 7 flat 5 scale. It's got a diminished triad with a flatted 7 on the top. A fully diminished chord is 1 flat 3 flat 5 and then 6 compared to a major scale. But this minor 7 flat 5 is 1 flat 3 flat 5 and flatted 7, which is a half step above that 6. So it's a different sounding chord. So anyway, I'm not going to play through the modal shapes or modal scales, but I am going to play the chords that are related to this chord progression. The most simple way of seeing these chords is, first of all, kind of envisioning them compared to the normal G type, or maybe some people call it F shape, some people just call it a root position G chord, but it's basically that shape that we use in bluegrass all the time. 1, 3, 5, 1. Well, if you lower the top note a half step, you get a major 7 chord. So you get 1, 3, 5, and 7 of a major scale. The 2 is A minor. Well, here, let me finish with the 1. Let me go through this shape for all 7 chords. 1, 2, and A minor 7, which is 1, flat 3, 5, and a flatted 7 compared to a major scale, an A major scale. B, same thing, B minor 7, B 1, flat 3, 5, and flat 7 compared to a B major scale. C, and there's your C chord, C major 7, 1, 3, 5, and natural 7 compared to a C major scale. D7, which is 1, 3, 5, and flat 7. And if this was D major, a D major 7, that's what that chord sounds like. But with a flatted 7, it's that. And this is using, again, only the 7 notes of the G major scale. E minor, which is 1, flat 3, 5, and flat 7, compared to an E major scale, and then, which is minor 7 flat 5, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, which is 1, F sharp, flat 3, flat 5, which that's an A and a C, and then a 7. If this was an F sharp major, it'd sound like this: F sharp major 7, F sharp 7, F sharp minor 7, and F sharp minor 7 flat 5. And you can do that on any chord: G major, G major 7, G7, G minor 7, G minor 7 flat 5. A little hard to finger down there, but anyway, okay, so that's the idea. 7 different chords. Here's the chord progression. Wait, back up. For each one of those chords, I want you to see the chord I just showed you started with this note being the root of each chord, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. And then the other notes were stacked this side of your little finger or your ring finger. I want you to see a different voicing of this chord, a broader voicing, which I've shown in another video earlier, just that I posted a couple weeks ago or whatever. So in this case, it's going to be the same notes, 1, 5, 7, and 3, but instead of 1, 3, 5, 7, it's 1, 5, 7, 3. Same notes, just stacked out differently. So here's G major 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, so again, where am I? So, in essence, I want you to see this and that at the same time, then this and this at the same time, this and this at the same time, this and this at the same time, this at the same time. That's your regular old E minor 7. And then so E minor, and then F sharp minor 7 flat 5. Right, that's what I'm thinking of. So the F sharp minor 7 flat 5, what am I doing here? F sharp minor 7 flat 5, right. For those of you who recognize this as a D7, it really is, it's just an extension of a D7, making it a D9. You've got, there's your D, F sharp, A, C, E. That E is the 9 of the chord. Same thing there. D9. So you can think of, in this exercise, think of the Locrian mode scale and those two chords as an extension of the D7. So when you see a D7, you could play those chords instead of the D7, which we played before. Right? Same sound. Okay, so here's, okay, enough of that. I'm 8 minutes into this already. Let me play with the metronome a little bit of this chord progression. I'm going to show you the chord progression here. Hopefully you can maybe take a screenshot of that. You've got 2 bars of G major 7, 2 bars of B minor 7, 2 bars of C major 7, and then an A minor to D, which you'll recognize as a 2-5, 2 bars of E minor 7, right? 2 bars of E minor 7, then back to 2 bars of C major 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, C major 7, and D7 for a nice little, you know, even numbered phrase. You notice the notes I made at the bottom. First, play chords only, then play modal scales for each accompanying chord. So if you see G major 7, that's a G scale. The B minor 7 would be B Phrygian scale. C major 7, right, is a C Lydian scale. A minor 7, and so on. And these are all chords within the key of G. So all these chords are dictated by only 7 notes: G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. Then play any modal scale over all those, over the whole progression. Play all the modal scales, one at a time, over the whole progression. Then, the pentatonic shapes that I've shown, I have a video called, I think, just G pentatonic shapes. Play those G pentatonic shapes over the entire progression. One thing about G pentatonic, which really makes it very ambiguous and usable, is that it's missing, it's 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 of a major scale, missing the 4 and 7. Well, that 4 and 7 is the tritone that is part of the D7 chord and the F sharp minor 7 flat 5 that drives you back to the 1 chord. So within the absence of those in a pentatonic scale, you don't have that driving force to drive you back to 1. It's just very ambiguous, and it kind of works over every chord. Sometimes. All right, so let's see if I can do this for you. I'll play it through a couple of times. I'm going to play chords that I know over this. It's not necessarily going to be the shapes you just saw, but I'm just going to kind of play the changes. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and... So that's that's the progression. I might have muffed up in there 1 or 2 times, but if you just kind of follow me, I correct myself in the form. So playing the chords only, you might do something like this. You might go. Sorry, one more time. You might play something that makes sense. For the C, A minor, D, and then when you play your D, you would play E minor, C, something like that. Just kind of picking around on it. And the metronome marking that I selected was 112 because it didn't seem to be too difficult to do that. Now, the second thing, playing a modal scale for each shape, you might play for G major or eighth notes. B minor, C, A minor, D, C, in the E minor I was just playing. back to C, A minor, D, and then kind of just come up with melodies, things that you like. Let me do a little bit of that with the metronome too. Oh, 1, 2, 3. So that's using a modal scale for each change. The last thing is when you use your G pentatonic shapes. Those things, I won't show them because I did it in another video, but those, again, you'll notice they work great over every single chord in this progression. So I hope that helps a little bit. It's a fun exercise, and again, this is just practicing. You're getting the sound of major in your head. This has nothing to do with like G blues, where you're not playing anything related to a different kind of a sound. A blues sound is a very kind of a flat 7 kind of bluesy sound, or a minor bluesy sound. That's not what this is about. This is about getting the sounds of major in your head, chordally and scalar. Okay, have fun with it.